Have you ever wondered how criminal networks manage to take control of entire cities? How do they rise to such power that they run everything, from businesses to the streets, even influencing the police? It's not something you'd expect to happen, but in some places around the world, criminal groups have carved out entire empires, and their grip on power can be terrifying. In this video, we'll dive into the shocking truth behind how these criminal organizations infiltrate and dominate cities. From the mafia in Sicily to gang control in Los Angeles, we'll uncover the stories of power, violence, and survival. Stick around, because what you're about to hear might just change how you see the crime world. El Diablo, the cartel that ruled the city. Let's begin with a chilling story from South America. El Diablo, a name whispered in the streets of a city ruled by Faye. His cartel, which rose to power in 1993, took control of the border, turning entire neighborhoods into war zones. The cartel's reign was brutal. Drugs flowed freely, bodies piled up, and the local authorities were either too scared or secretly worked for the cartel. By 2008, a journalist who dared to expose El Diablo's operations never made it to print. His body was found hanging from a bridge the next day, a clear warning to anyone who might try to stand up against the cartel. The military tried to take action in 2010, sending 5,000 soldiers to reclaim control. But for every arrest, 3 new recruits would take their place. The cartel had eyes everywhere. By 2015, entire neighborhoods were under cartel control. Businesses had to pay for protection, or they simply disappeared. Even children were forced to sell drugs in the streets. Fear wasn't just a feeling, it was the law. And in 2022, a massacre of 30 bodies dumped overnight showed that this was no longer a city. It was a kingdom, with El Diablo as its king. The Mafia's grip on Sicily. Let's take a trip to Sicily, where the Cosa Nostra Mafia has ruled with an iron fist for over a century. From 1860, the Mafia controlled everything from businesses to judges, even infiltrating the police force. By 1930, Salvatore Maranzano became the first boss of bosses and created a network of power that stretched from Palermo to New York. In 1978, journalist Giuseppe Impastato exposed their criminal activities, and days later, his body was found, blown apart next to a railway track. The message was clear: silence or die. In the 1980s, under the reign of Toto Renau, the Mafia's violence escalated. Over 1,000 murders occurred, and bombings became a regular tactic. But it wasn't until 1992 that things hit a breaking point. Judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, who had been fighting against the Mafia, were killed in massive car bombings. This was the Mafia's way of showing their untouchable power. Though Italy fought back, with hundreds of Mafia members arrested by 2006, the Mafia didn't disappear. It simply hid, blending in with society and continuing their grip on power. Even today, whispers of Cosa Nostra echo through the streets of Palermo, reminding us that Mafia power never truly dies. Los Angeles gangs, the battle for control. Now, let's move to the streets of Los Angeles, where gangs like MS-13 and the Crips have controlled entire neighborhoods for decades. It all started in the 1980s, when the city was overrun by drugs, violence, and poverty. MS-13, originally formed by Salvadorans, quickly became notorious for its brutal methods of control. By 1992, Los Angeles was a battlefield. The Crips, known for their blue colors, fought a deadly turf war with the Bloods. But MS-13's rise was unstoppable. They didn't just fight for territory, they terrorized it, making it impossible for communities to live in peace. By the 2000s, entire neighborhoods were under gang control. Schools were forced to teach survival tactics for dealing with gang violence. Businesses paid for protection, or they shut down. In 2014, the FBI estimated that MS-13 had a firm grip on Los Angeles, with over 10,000 gang members in the area. Despite countless arrests and crackdowns, the gangs continue to rule. LA might be known for its celebrities, but in the shadows, it's the gangs who truly control the streets. Rio de Janeiro's favelas, crime as the ruling force. Next, we head to Rio de Janeiro, a city famous for its beaches and festivals, but also home to some of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world. The favelas of Rio aren't just slums. They are empires ruled by criminal gangs like the Red Command and Commando Vermelho. The story started in the 1960s, when poverty pushed thousands into the hills of Rio. With little to no government presence, gangs took over, establishing themselves as the rulers of these neighborhoods. By 1993, they controlled nearly every favela. The police were either bribed or simply outgunned by the gangs, who controlled everything from the drug trade to weapons. By 2009, their influence stretched even further. They built a network that reached Brazil's elite. Businessmen, politicians, even police officers were often involved. Fear wasn't just limited to the slums anymore, it was everywhere. In 2010, the Brazilian government sent 2,000 police officers to try and take back control. But even after months of fighting, the gangs held their ground. By 2015, 90% of Rio's favelas were still controlled by criminal networks. Rio de Janeiro wasn't just a city, it was a kingdom of crime, with gangs at the top. The Russian Mafia, power beyond borders. Now, let's look at Moscow, where the Russian Mafia or Bratva controls not just the streets, but the economy itself. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 opened the doors for the rise of this criminal empire. By the mid-1990s, the Mafia had infiltrated nearly every sector: oil, banking, even politics. One key figure was Semyon Mogilevich, often called the boss of bosses, who controlled billions of dollars in illegal operations across the globe. The 2000s marked a new era of Mafia control, where businesses had to pay protection money or face destruction. The Russian Mafia was untouchable. In 2009, billionaire Mikhail Khodorkovsky, a critic of Putin, was arrested, and many believed his arrest was part of a move to consolidate power between the Mafia and the government. By 2015, the Russian Mafia didn't just control Moscow, they had a grip on global crime, from the drug trade to arms smuggling and money laundering. Even though the government has cracked down on them, the Mafia's influence remains a shadow over the city. The Yakuza's grip on Tokyo. In Tokyo, the Yakuza isn't just a criminal syndicate, it's a symbol of control that dates back to the 17th century. By the 1970s, the Yamaguchi-gumi, the largest and most powerful Yakuza family, had established control over billions of yen through extortion, drugs, and illegal gambling. The Yakuza's rise to power wasn't without violence. In 1984, a bloody war broke out between rival factions, with gruesome acts of violence used to maintain control. By 1992, the Japanese government attempted to curb the Yakuza's influence with stricter laws, but by then, the Yakuza had already infiltrated every part of Japanese life: construction, entertainment, and even politics. In 2000, Kenichi Shinoda became the leader of the Yamaguchi-gumi, further strengthening their grip. Despite multiple crackdowns, the Yakuza remained a powerful force in Tokyo, and even today, their shadow hangs over the city. Johannesburg, the heart of South Africa's criminal empire. Finally, let's talk about Johannesburg, South Africa's largest city, where criminal syndicates control not just the streets, but the entire economy. The 1990s saw the rise of gangs like the Wemapan and 28s, who began dominating the city through drug trafficking, extortion, and smuggling. By the 2000s, these gangs had infiltrated every aspect of life. Businesses were forced to pay protection money, and everyday citizens lived in constant fear. The police force was often corrupt, making it nearly impossible to dismantle the criminal network. By 2018, Johannesburg became one of the most dangerous cities in the world, with over 20,000 violent crimes reported annually. Johannesburg wasn't just a city, it was the heart of South Africa's criminal empire. From El Diablo in South America to the Russian Mafia in Moscow, criminal networks around the world have taken control of entire cities. They don't just operate in the shadows, they run the streets, the businesses, and sometimes even the government. These cities are ruled not by elected officials, but by the underworld, where crime is the law. If this video shocked you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more jaw-dropping stories about crime and corruption. And make sure to hit that bell so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.